Okay, so today we're going to be talking about network types and topologies of such. And firstly, we're going to be talking about LANs, which are local area networks, and they're usually like small groups of computers connected within each other to share software, hardware, or any sort of data. And it usually consists of a number of computers and other like devices connected with two like switches or hubs, and they're connected in turn with each other. And one of the hubs or switches is then connected to a router to get broadband connection and in order to connect to the internet, and thus becoming part of a WAN, which can be like worldwide or whatever. And yeah, and there's like four different types of topologies we're going to be looking at within LANs, which are ring, bus, star, and hybrid topologies.
Okay, so the first type are ring networks. The ring networks, each computer is connected to each other, so the data is transmitted around the network. As it passes from one computer to the next, the data goes around to the whole network continuously. So the advantages are that it is easy to implement and extend. No, sorry. That data is quickly transferred and all data traffic is in the same direction. Adding additional nodes has a low impact on the bandwidth. And the disadvantages are that if any of the nodes fail, then the ring is broken and data cannot be transmitted successfully. And because all the stations are together to other stations, you must shut down the network temporarily. Okay, then bus networks. Bus network has each computer or device connected to a common spine. So, when a computer or device sends data, it travels along the spine until it reaches the computer that requires it. The advantages are that it is easy to connect to a new device to the network. If one of the devices fail, then the rest of the network can carry as normal. The disadvantages, if there is a problem with the cable, the entire network goes down. And if too many computers are attached, the amount of data flowing causes the network to slow down. Star networks has each computer or device connected to a central hub or switch. So it has like a star form. The hub does not perform any routing of the data, and consequently, the data is sent to all other computers and devices on the network. The advantages are it has good performance, easy to set up and expand, and any non-centralized failure will have very little effect on the network. The disadvantages is it is expensive to install and the extra hard work is required.
Also, there's hybrid networks, which are like a combination of them. It's usually like it's made up of little like star networks connected all within each other to form a massive bus network, and that's basically like a hybrid one. Okay, so an intranet so an intranet is basically like a network like itself that its main purpose. Okay, so an intranet is basically the main purpose of a LAN, and it's a website located within the organization, and it's only to be used by its members. It can be made up of a number of LANs, and it's possible to get access to like a massive one, and maybe even from extranet, which we will talk about later. And there's firewalls which within the intranet to protect it against the rest of the internet, and it has a really big advantage over traditional LANs, and it's that it's based on internet protocols, and therefore like it's independent of the workstation, and you can use it like whether the computer is really old or new. And there's a client server relationship also set up between the computers and devices in the server, and so it's like allocated to an IP address, and therefore like be tracked down if there's a misuse to it or whatever. And many files of data are like identified using a URL, which is much more useful to get access to it like from different computers. And also they're useful for organizations in several ways. For example, they provide email, like although it's local and within the network, but like it still is quite useful for our workplace. And like it gets members and employees like in contact with each other, and like in video conferences even, not only with email, and makes it easy to share information across the internet instead of memos and stuff and sending in. And it provides faster access to documents, sharing diaries, and provides discussion forums. and it brings members and employees up to date with the organization's policies.
Now we're gonna talk about the local email and business networks. Most business recognize that an intranet or LAN is a very powerful use of computers. The business can put information on the intranet that they feel their employees need to access to, such as company newsletters, job listings, stock exchange reports, catalogs, and price lists. The advantages may be that it reduces the day-to-day expenses of the business. The telephone directories could put the intranet would not just save paper, also saving time. Other uses could include discussion forums where the employees could discuss progress or just ask for information. And the easiest way of communication through a business network is by using a LAN based or local email. There is the use of an internet service provider. There is one way of doing this. Allow access to internet email services. Then the other way is to buy the purpose-built LAN-based email software. It is used as a database for storing the messages which can be accessed as and when needed.
Okay, so WLAN basically is like a wireless local area network, and it's basically like a LAN but it's wireless, and so like no cables are employed to connect the computers with each other, and instead like a net of infrared and like of waves is connecting the computers with each other. It's provided like that the user needs a laptop or another portable communication device with a network card, and or like even like Wi-Fi on normal computers, and you need like a wireless access point, which can be the Wi-Fi itself. It like the WLAN means that our computers can access the same services, such as like for example printers and internet across the whole thing, and therefore you can set like the administrators can set firewalls and bans on certain websites, for example. So like it becomes like for all the computers, and all the other devices can be added to the network without the like extra cabling, and so you can like join a Wi-Fi with your mobile nowadays. And there's some drawbacks of it, like for example like when it's the security, there is a lack of it, though you can put like a password on your Wi-Fi. There's millions of ways you can get across that, and there is no problem like, and you have to log on to the network to the WLAN to work, and that's the only way you can secure it. But so, like most users don't even know how to put security on it, and that's a big disadvantage. And data and the computers and other devices connected to it, they tend to transmit and receive data at slower rate than normal based plans, and it's because like nowadays like the Wi-Fi it's become so much better, but it's still not like as good as like cabling or as fast. And additional hardware may be needed to be added for normal LANs to become wireless.
Wi-Fi is short for wireless fidelity, refers to the technology used in most WLANs, PDAs, or other handheld devices. Wi-Fi is wireless networking, the ability to connect to a network using radio waves instead of cabling. A wireless network uses radio waves. Data is translated into a radio signal and then transmitted. Although it is possible to connect networks wirelessly over long distances, we will concentrate on more reliable short-distance Wi-Fi technology. So, we will now be looking at the principal hardware that is required to use a WLAN before discussing the two key means of data transmission. A laptop is an optional element of a WLAN, but in order to gain full benefits of this, you will need a laptop. A laptop is a stand-alone computer that allows the user flexibility as to where they use it. It has a battery, so the user don't have to be near to a socket to use it. You can use a laptop computer for the same types of work as you will use a desktop computer. And there are health and safety implications for young people who use, for example, the laptop on their laps because they are much closer to a source of radiation. So schools should ensure that laptops are placed on a desk or similar flat surface.
Okay, so to connect to the Wi-Fi, basically like every device like that needs like Wi-Fi connection needs a wireless network card, which like it's set up by a wireless network interface controller, and which is basically like a normal interface controller, but like with like for wireless stuff. Like if for laptops need to have fitted like a special thing for the card to fit, but you can like if have them fixed in normal desktop computers, and it basically allows you to connect to the network. Basically, like then there's wireless routers, which is like a normal router, but like without all the cabling, and it just has a power source and an internet connection broadband source, and and it provides you with protected access to Wi-Fi to WPA, and uses like a MAC address filtering, which allows you to access devices only like within the network to access the network, and not anyone else like apart from them. And there's invisible mode configuration, and so like it cannot be scanned outside the wireless clients. And then there's wireless access points, which WAP, and it means like is the means of connecting wireless devices to a wired network, and it plugs into the network via cable, and then provides internet to all the wireless devices within the network. It's only within the limited area, and they can cover which they can cover in traffic about 30, and it can cover about 30 devices. And it's not a router, and it cannot perform this function. It's more like a hub, but like wireless. And it has WAP, like you can have them built separately to a router or access points in businesses. Like because the cost is higher, you don't usually see these. You usually see routers, and the type they use is likely to be more powerful than in those used in domestic situations.
We have the devices that can be used in a WLAN. For example, mobile phones have Bluetooth and infrared features for connecting with computers or for communicate with a wireless router and access to internet. Then we have printers, personal digital assistants that are allowed to connect to a WLAN, and portable media players. Each of these has a varying amount of connectivity depending on the size and power of the device. Different types of methods of data transmission. There are two major methods: spread spectrum radio wave transmission of the data through radio waves, but this increases the bandwidth of the original data. It allows computer and other devices to communicate through walls, thereby increasing the network area. Then we have the use of infrared in WLAN. This is not really common, but because of the wavelength it uses, it does not get interference from other radio sources, which normally have problems with the WLANs. The disadvantages are the lack of range of the system, but this means that more access points are needed, and this in turn increases the cost.
Another type of network you can get is a wireless personal area network or WPAN, and it's very limited size because the preferred method to connect it, like the waves is Bluetooth, based on the short distance and the spectrum transmission, and it's personal within a building, like usually their home, and it connects basically all the devices together, such as the printer, the scanner, desktop, and all the portable digital cameras, portable media devices, everything. And it provides services about within 10 meters, and it functions normally just as a LAN. And then there is MANs, which are basically metropolitan area networks, and it's basically like a massive one that connects LANs within each other, and it's usually for cities of university campuses. And you can have connection points to WANs, and having access by individuals and shared resources of this MAN, but it's usually only like in universities and cities as it's massive.
WANs, or wide area network, is formed by connecting LANs through a router or modem. It covers much space than a LAN or a MAN. Private ones can be set up by businesses, so they connect their LANs. This can be expensive, and the firewalls are used to provide extra security to the connection. One needs some additional hardware, as routers and proxy servers. Then we have modems that are used to be the key gateway connecting the LANs to a WAN. The role of the modem was to convert the digital data from a computer into analog data for transmission through telephone lines. HTTP proxy servers is a type of server that acts as a buffer between a WAN and a LAN. It passes the information to web pages and then passes them on the computer, which requests them. This speeds up browsing considerably.